Thank you. I am delighted to join you all at this dinner in honor of our friend Bob Reischauer. Bob is a wonderfully deserving recipient of the Robert M. Ball Award. His direct contributions to social insurance come from the things he's written and the things he's said. His indirect contributions come from the two analytic organizations that he has played such a key role in building, the Urban Institute and the Congressional Budget Office. Both of those organizations are absolutely central to informed discussions of social insurance and many other policy issues, and neither would exist in the form they do without Bob. My admiration for the work of the Urban Institute is something I feel very deeply, but from afar, so I will not try tonight to talk about Bob's role at Urban, but the admiration that I have for the work of my colleagues at CBO is something that I feel very closely every day, and I will talk about Bob's role in creating that very special place. As Alice mentioned, Bob was one of her key associates in setting up the agency. He served in various roles, including, as Alice noted, head of a division, as deputy director, and then as director. Altogether, he was a central person at CBO for about 2/3 of the first 20 years of the organization's life. And I had the great good fortune to work at CBO for the last 2 years of Bob's term as director, and in particular to work on health reform. During the more recent health reform debate of 2009 and 10 and 11 and 12, I've thought often to what I learned and what CBO as an organization learned from that experience in the mid-1990s and from Bob's approach more generally. One thing that CBO experienced in 1994 was that the bigger the stakes, the louder the criticism. And fundamental changes in the country's approach to social insurance are the biggest stakes there are. With typical wit, Bob once told a reporter who asked how he was preparing for testimony to the Congress by saying, "I'm standing in the kitchen and having my wife throw pots and pans at me." Bob's willingness to take the heat and to do so with grace, both publicly and privately at CBO, was a model to which I and others at CBO have aspired during the past few years. And I remember well the enormous pride that people at CBO took in the way that Bob calmly, clearly, and articulately presented our analysis. Another thing CBO experienced in 1994 was that big policy changes need large teams of analysts. Bob worked to enhance CBO's capacity in health, and then he pulled in extra people from around the organization, including, as it turned out, me, and drew on their various skills. And by marshaling the capabilities of the organization collectively, he found a way for CBO to accomplish more than one might have thought possible. That is also a model for what we've been doing recently, not only in health reform, but in other policy issues, where we've drawn on dozens of analysts in order to do analysis with greater breadth or depth than other organizations can do. A third thing that CBO experienced in 1994 was the importance of humility in presenting uncertain estimates. When Bob was asked in one testimony whether our estimates were at least in the right ballpark, I remember sitting behind him at this time, he replied, "I'm not sure about the ballpark, but I'm pretty sure that we're in the town the ballpark is located in." And when people tried later to tweak proposals to hit specific targets according to our estimates, Bob wrote later, "Given the unavoidable crudeness and uncertainty in CBO's estimates, such fine-tuning was ludicrous." Alas, we have not succeeded in preventing such fine-tuning. But we regularly follow Bob's example by emphasizing the uncertainty of our estimates on a range of topics and being upfront about it, not apologetic about it, and not hiding it. A fourth thing that was apparent in 1994 was that Congress wants CBO's analysis not only of budgetary effects, but also of other aspects of proposals. Under Bob's leadership, CBO's report on the Clinton health plan included discussion of challenges in implementation and of the sustainability of cost controls. That work, which received a great deal of attention, reinforced CBO's culture of looking at budgetary effects first and foremost, but not stopping there. And we continue to follow that model on health, other aspects of social insurance, and other policy areas. A fifth thing that I saw at CBO in the mid-1990s, and that my colleagues saw at CBO, was Bob's sense of humor. I've given you just a few examples. Certainly, Bob taught me and taught others that we owed it to members of Congress and to our fellow citizens to do the best analysis, to give the best information we possibly could. But Bob made clear that this seriousness of purpose shouldn't stop us from enjoying the work, as Bob did himself. To an impressionable young analyst like me, his combination of seriousness and good humor made public service cool, made budget policy cool. I'm not sure whether I'm conveying that sense to the current young analysts at CBO, but I'm trying. In these and many other ways, the examples that Bob set through what he said and did and what he had the organization say and do continue to guide us at CBO very strongly. Bob's approach, as we try to follow it today, attracts first-rate people to come to CBO and motivates them to do their best work once they're there. The analysis we do of social insurance and other issues in public policy simply would not be possible without the analytic capability, and even more important, the institutional character that were laid down by our predecessors. I feel all the time that those of us at CBO today, and many of my colleagues are in the audience, are standing on the shoulders of giants. And Bob is one of those giants. Now, before I close, I have a gift for Bob from the group of CBO alumni. Shortly after Bob became CBO director, the Washington Post referred to the agency as the skunk at the picnic. And I still have a button with a picture of a skunk that says the Reischauer years, 1989 to 1995. When I came back to CBO as director, I was given a stuffed skunk that sits on the shelf in my office. Parenthetically, there was a story a few months ago about President Obama's frustration with CBO during the health reform debate. And apparently, the fact that he and his staff started referring to us as a banana, or the banana, don't quite understand that. But I was given at a recent CBO event a banana, which now sits on my shelf next to the skunk. So we're accumulating odd sorts of nicknames. But the point here is that under Kathy Ruffing's able leadership, CBO alumni are making a contribution, in your name, Bob, to the Wildlife Center of Virginia, to the benefit of injured and orphaned skunks. And I will give you a certificate from Kathy and the rest of us to that effect. You can. I want to conclude by saying there are only a few people I've worked with in my life whom I wanted to grow up to be like, and Bob's one of them. Congratulations, Bob.